Driving a Sprinter van like our Winnebago Revel is completely different than driving a normal vehicle, especially off-road. There are a bunch of things that we learned, and we had to learn them the hard way.
Some of these tips are pretty straightforward, but honestly, there's a couple of them that can get you into some kind of sticky situations. One of them is the van will just all of a sudden stop producing power, super irritating. And another one, the van will actually decide to put itself into park while you're actually moving. Let's talk about some of the off-road surprises we learned. The biggest one I think we should start with is this thing does not have a super low-end gearbox. This is the four-wheel drive version. It does have 4-low, but it's nowhere near a Jeep 4-low. So what happens is when you get in a scenario where you're butting your wheels up against a large object, like maybe a tree or a large ledge, sometimes the van just doesn't have enough oomph to actually get the wheels to start going over it. I think it's a combination of issues. I think it's that van's low-end torque sometimes doesn't have enough to get those wheels started. But I also do think the van itself decides that you've had enough power, you're doing something bad, and it's not going to give you that power. Because you can have it completely floored and that turbo will not spool up. And we ran into this when we were trying to drive over a log. We ran over it 3 times before, but that last time we were going uphill, and then I put both wheels against it and then tried to go over it. And it just wasn't having it. I had that sucker floored and it was just like stuck at a little under 2,000 RPMs. Wouldn't do anything. So I had to back off, give it a little bump. And that's the key, is to have a little bit of momentum. Or just a word of warning, when you add that momentum, you're adding speed, which can put you in some weird situations you might not want to be in, whether the van's going to tilt over sideways, or for our instance, when we popped over the log, we had so much momentum and enough inertia that it kicked that log back a couple feet. And if Kelly was standing back there, it could have ended poorly. The last thing we have to say about this is do not put yourself in a scenario where the van is going to be at the bottom of the hill with a bunch of ledges where you're not going to be able to get that momentum. Always make sure you're giving yourself enough space where you can get a little bit of run at it if you need to. This next one is easy. Put your van into four-wheel drive before you need it. Do not wait until you're stuck, because sometimes you might not be able to get it into four-wheel drive. Just to give you a little idea, when you're putting your van into four-wheel drive, you got gears that have to come together. And if those gears are completely like butting into each other, sometimes the van needs to move a little bit so those gears can mesh. Just put your van into four-wheel drive before you need it. We pretty much do it as soon as we get off the pavement. Next up is, when should you use 4-low? And for us, we do it in 3 scenarios. One, when we want to go real slow. It could be flat terrain, but maybe it's got big boulders and we want to keep everything from flying around in the van. We'll put it in 4-low so we can kind of crawl along. The next instance is if we know we're going to be going up a lot of steep grades. In the Northwest here, there's a lot of really steep stuff, and it can put a lot of stress on the transmission. The last one is when you're going to be going down some steep grades. You can use some engine braking to actually keep your brakes from overheating. Plus, it just keeps everything moving along really slow, especially on some slippery terrain. And a little bonus one, it's super easy to pop up onto blocks or onto rocks when you actually make it to camp when you're in 4-low. One last tip is, don't be afraid to use four-wheel drive when you're just on an easy forest road. We've been in some scenarios where a Jeep will come around, or a motorcycle or ATV will come around the corner super fast, and you got to make some high-speed adjustments. If you're not in four-wheel drive, you don't have the fidelity of moving around as much as you do when you're in four-wheel drive. You can really tell those front wheels help track and keep you on the road. We've had to make some quick adjustments, and I'm not sure if we would still be on the road if we weren't in 4x.
Another tip is, when you're off-road, you might want to turn off your ESP and your parking sensors, because you want to be in control of the van and not the van controlling you. They're super easy to disable. They're on the main screen. You just push each button to turn them off.
Next up is dyno mode. You can put the van into, well, dyno mode is to actually be on a dyno. When you're on that, you basically want to see how much power the van can put down, so you don't want the computer getting in the way. What that does is it'll disable everything, and I've heard good and bad about it. We've never done it. It's like the old Nintendo days where you have to do ABBA, select up, down, left, right on the steering wheel to get it into that mode. We've never tried it. If you have tried it and actually had it work for you, let us know. Now let's talk about some driving quirks of the Sprinter. The adaptive cruise, super cool, absolutely love it. There's a couple things that you should know. When you turn it on and set it, we've found it works really great. You could be driving around the freeway. If you drive on long stretches, I guess in Germany, they assume that you're always gonna see something in front of you. Well, in the States, you could drive for hours and there would be nothing in front. And if that radar looking in front doesn't see anything after a couple hours, it turns itself off. And you'll get an alarm on the front and you think your van's broken. Unfortunately, you just gotta wait and it'll eventually reset. There's a second item, is if you're driving along, been sitting too long, you gotta kind of adjust your bum. If you get off of the seat, it'll think you died and then it turns it off. You can just sit back down, turn it back on. And the last one, which is something to watch out for, is if you're driving along and all of a sudden the cars start to stop, it will slow down, but it doesn't appear that it will come to a complete stop. Kelly's never let me fully test this. We've come super close and it looks like we're gonna run into somebody and I'll hit the brakes, but it doesn't look like the van will actually go to zero. It goes very slow, but not zero. Next up, we have blind spot monitoring. Most cars have this now. It's got the little indicator over there. When you're next to somebody, it will alert you. But I just recently found out, Kelly knew this all along, I didn't. But if you're next to somebody and you're not paying attention to this, you put your blinker on, it will actually start giving you audible alerts in the cab. So if you hear those, pay attention.
Another one is the backup sensors can cut power completely. And we learned this the hard way.
We were in a spot where I had to dig out the front wheels. So the wheels were sitting in a hole. I was in the front of the van, Kelly was in there driving, and I was like trying to get her to back up.
And I was pushing it. I mean, I was trying my hardest and it would not move.
So I went in and we discovered that the backup sensor was seeing the rear bag on the back, and it was like, it didn't want to run somebody over,
Yep.
so it just wouldn't give power.
So it's totally a safety issue, but we didn't need it.
Super easy to disable on your main screen there. You'll see a little blue checkbox and then you just hit that, turns it right off. As soon as we did that, it popped right out of the hole.
One thing you need to know is if you get bigger tires, we ended up getting the KO3s, is that it affects your speedometer. When you're going 55, you're actually going 60. It's like 5 miles difference. When the lower speeds is only 3. But it's something that you have to remember when you're driving down that freeway. Greg oftentimes forgets that.
There are some companies that make products that you can put in there that will fix that mile-an-hour gap. And if you don't do it, just remember the key words of, I don't know, officer, my van said I was going the speed limit. Your radar gun's probably faulty. Another Sprinter quirk that we found, the van will actually throw itself into park when it's moving, and it makes for a super abrupt thing to happen, and it probably is terrible on the transmission. I was trying to back into a campsite, and I was going only a couple miles an hour, and I opened my door because it was cold and I had my window shut. I opened my door and then started to lean out, and as soon as I did that, the van threw itself into park, and then just like the whole thing came jerking to a stop. I hit my head up here. It was bad. It made some horrible noises down in the transmission. Whatever you do is don't open this door when the van is moving because it freaks out. Just rolled the window down. Sprinters have a bunch of electronics, and when you open and close doors, you'll notice that your navigation system will like start up and want to do things. This is all sucking power, which you don't really want. There's an easy fix for this one right here. There's a power button. If you hit this and hold it down, now the screen says system off, and if I click this, it actually will power down the screen, and then you're not sucking extra juice.
You'll just have to remember to turn it back on when you start driving again.
Sprinters are notorious for draining down the actual car battery. And one way to alleviate that is when you get to camp, make sure it's this key, make sure you open your driver door, because that way it actually kind of assumes you're now parked. If you don't do that, these computers will stay on, the screen will stay on. Another thing you need to do is you need to take these keys, because it detects it by the system. You have to move them farther away. We just hang them on the back of the kitchen over there. Because Sprinters are really bad at draining the car battery, we carry this jump box. Make sure you're getting one that has enough amperage to actually start a big diesel engine like this. If your rig has some kind of battery monitor, check to see if it will monitor the chassis battery as well. Ours is down to 12.3, which actually is starting to get a little bit low. If it gets under 12, that's in the no starting range. The last thing about the battery is that the Mercedes has this handy little app that you can use to lock and unlock your doors. If you're gonna rely on this, keep in mind, if your starter battery gets low, it just completely turns this function off. So we've heard one story of people that were hiking, lost their keys, and they're like, oh, we can just get in our car. Well, their battery had gone down and they still couldn't get into their car. Even though the vans are automatic, you can still manually shift gears. A lot of people don't know about this. Kelly still refuses to use them. I don't know why, but there's paddles back here on the back of the steering wheel. And if you are driving along and you hit, shift down this minus button, it will drop down in gear. And you can use this to basically do some engine braking when you're going downhill, or like when we're gonna leave this spot, I'm gonna make sure it stays in first gear so it doesn't try to kick up into second and then go a little bit too fast. There's a big one that nobody told us that can actually cause damage to your transmission, and it's how to properly park. You don't wanna just go hit your brake, put it into park, hit your parking brake. You don't wanna do that. You wanna click it into neutral. You wanna set your parking brake as hard as you can, let off on your brake down here, so then the van moves into its position so it's resting, then you press it into park. If you don't do that, what happens is when you just immediately put it into park, is the van will put all of its weight on, there's some kind of little pin or something in the transmission, and it'll put all of its weight on that. And if you put it back into drive, you'll hear this horrendous clunking noise right when you do it. If you hear that, you know you did it wrong and you should stop doing that. Here's another easy one. If we pop the hood, we can show you the DEF location. And if you're new to sprinters and the DEF fluid, you have to put it in every so often. It goes right here. And one thing to know about this is this stuff is kind of corrosive. You don't want to spill it all around here. Just wait till that little DEF indicator on your dashboard reads half, and that means it will suck up one entire box, and you'll just dump that in and you'll be right back to full. Oh, bonus tip. If you're out traveling, go to like a sporting goods store or something, buy your DEF there, fill it up in the parking lot, and then you can take the box back inside and be like, hey, I just bought this here. Could you dispose of this for me? Those boxes are huge and not a lot of places want to take them. If you're out camping in a forest area like this, you're gonna wanna check under the hood to make sure critters haven't set up shop in there. And that's super easy to do. One place we like to double check, because there's a flat spot right here. They'll make a nest under this, and then fires happen and then your whole van burns down. You don't want that. We just kind of do a visual inspection, make sure there's no extra material in there from rodents.
If you have any tips that we didn't mention, or if Greg got something completely wrong, let us know. Thanks again to all of our YouTube members. We really appreciate it. You can go watch this video next. You can find us at exploretrekadventure.com, and we'll see you next time.